Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Today's parable is called the Folded Napkin. I try not to be biased, but I had my doubts about hiring Stevie. His placement counselor assured me that he would be a good, reliable busboy, but I had never had a mentally handicapped employee and wasn't sure I wanted one. I wasn't sure how my customers would react to Stevie. He was short, a little dumpy, with the smooth facial features and thick-tongued speech of Down syndrome. I wasn't worried about most of my trucker customers because truckers don't usually care about who busses the tables as long as the meatloaf platter is good and the pies are homemade. The four-wheeler drivers were the ones who concerned me. The mouthy college kids traveling to school, the yuppie snobs who secretly polished their silverware with their napkins for fear of catching some dreaded truck stop germ, the pairs of white-shirted businessmen on expense accounts who think every truck stop waitress wants to be flirted with. I knew those people would be uncomfortable around Stevie, and so I closely watched him for the first few weeks. I shouldn't have worried. After the first week, Stevie had my staff wrapped around his stubby little finger. And within a month, my truck stop regulars adopted him as their official truck stop mascot. After that, I really didn't care what the rest of the customers thought of him. He was like a 21-year-old in blue jeans and Nikes, eager to laugh and eager to please, but fierce in his attention for his duties. Every salt and pepper shaker was exactly in its place. Not a breadcrumb or coffee spill was visible when Stevie was done with the table. Our only problem was persuading him to wait to clean up the table until after the customer was finished. He would hover in the background, shifting his weight from one foot to another, scanning the dining room until the table was empty. Then he would scurry to the empty table and carefully bust dishes and glasses onto his cart and meticulously wipe the table up with a practiced flourish of his rag. If he thought a customer was watching, his brow would pucker with added concentration. He took pride in doing his job exactly right, and you had to love how hard he tried to please each and every person he met. Over time, we learned that he lived with his mother, a widow who was disabled after repeated surgeries for cancer. They lived on their Social Security benefits in public housing 2 miles from the truck stop. Their social worker, who stopped to check on him every so often, admitted they had fallen through the cracks. Money was tight, and what I paid him was probably the difference between them being able to live together and Stevie being sent to a group home. That's why the restaurant was a gloomy place that morning late August. The first morning in 3 years that Stevie missed work. He was at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, getting a new valve or something put in his heart. His social worker said that people with Down syndrome often have heart problems at an early age, so this wasn't unexpected, and there was a good chance he would come through the surgery in good shape and would be back at work in a few months. A ripple of excitement ran through the staff later that morning when word came that he was out of surgery, in recovery, and doing fine. Franny, the head waitress, let out a war whoop and a little dance in the aisle when she heard the good news. Bell ringer, one of the regular trucker customers, stared at the sight of this 50-year-old grandmother of 4 doing a victory shimmy beside his table. Franny blushed, smoothed her apron, and shot Bellringer with a withering look. He grinned. "Okay, Franny, what was that all about?" he asked. "We just got word that Stevie is out of surgery and going to be okay. I was wondering where he was. I had a new joke to tell him. What was the surgery about?" Franny quickly told Bellringer and the other two drivers sitting at his booth about Stevie's surgery, then sighed. Yeah, I'm glad he is going to be okay, she said, but I don't know how he and his mom are going to handle all the bills. From what I hear, they're barely getting by as it is. Bellringer nodded thoughtfully, and Friday hurried off to wait on the rest of the tables. Since I hadn't had time to round up a busboy to replace Stevie and really didn't want to replace him, the girls were busy on their own tables that day, and we decided what to do. After the morning rush, Franny walked into my office. She had a couple of paper napkins in her hand and a funny look on her face. What's up? I asked. I didn't get that table where Bear Ringer and his friends were sitting cleared off after they left. And Pony Pete and Tony Tipper were sitting there when I got back to clean it off. This was folded and tucked under a coffee cup. She handed the napkin to me, and three $20 bills fell into my desk when I opened it. On the outside, in big bold letters, was printed, "Something for Stevie." Pony Pete asked me what that was all about, she said. So I told him about Stevie and his mom and everything. And Pete looked at Tony, and Tony looked at Pete, and they ended up giving me this. She handed me another paper napkin that had "Something for Stevie" scrawled on the outside. Two $50 bills were tucked within its folds. Franny looked at me with wet, shiny eyes, shook her head, and said simply, "Truckers." That was 3 months ago. Today is New Year's Day, the first day Stevie is supposed to be back to work. His placement worker said he's been counting the days until the doctor said he could work. And it didn't matter at all. It was a holiday. He called 10 times in the past week, making sure we knew he was coming, fearful that we had forgotten him or that his job was in jeopardy. I arranged to have his mother bring him to work. I then met them in the parking lot and invited them both to celebrate his day back. Stevie was thinner and paler, but couldn't stop grinning as he pushed through the doors and headed for the back room where his apron and busing cart were waiting. "Hold up there, Stevie. Not so fast," I said. I took him and his mother by their arms. "Work and wait a minute. To celebrate you coming back, breakfast for you and your mother is on me." I led them toward a large corner booth at the rear of the room. I could feel and hear the rest of the staff following behind as we marched through the dining room. Glancing over my shoulder, I saw booth after booth grinning truckers empty and join the procession. We stopped in front of the big table. Its surface was covered with coffee cups, saucers, and dinner plates, all sitting slightly crooked in dozens of folded napkins. "First thing you have to do, Stevie, is clean up this mess," I said. I tried to sound stern. Stevie looked at me and then at his mother, then pulled out one of the napkins. It had "Something for Stevie" printed on the outside. As he picked it up, two $10 bills fell into the table. Stevie stared at the money, then at the napkin peeking from beneath the tableware, each with his name printed on and scrawled on it. Turned to his mother. "There's more than 10,000 in cash and checks on the table, all from truckers and trucking companies that heard your problem. Happy New Year." Well, it got real noisy about that time, with everybody hollering and shouting, and there were a few tears as well. But you know what's funny? While everybody else was busy shaking hands and hugging each other, Stevie, with a big smile on his face, was busy cleaning all the cups and dishes from the table. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Have a great day and God bless.